Where can you find 6,000 local businesses with just one click? EverythingMidmo.com.
Hello and welcome to the Columbia Daily Tribune's Behind the Stripes webcast. This is sports editor Joe Walljasper along with Tribune football beat writer Dave Matter. Missouri coming off a 41-7 loss to Texas, in which I think pretty much every weakness we knew about Missouri was exposed, plus a few extra special bonus weaknesses were exposed. How good do you think this team is now? I think going in the year we thought, well, it might be a rebuilding year. Maybe, if they go win 7 or 8 games, that'd be a great year. Then they dominate Illinois, and we all thought, well, maybe this is a reloading year. What now? What kind of quality can we attach to this team?
I think we're about to find out. I think this stretch here, these last 5 games, are definitely going to define how good this team is and how they bounce back from 3 losses, 1 really bad loss where they weren't even competitive against a great team in Texas, but they didn't even show any fight in that game, a lot like last year's game in Austin. So we're going to learn a lot more about this team pretty soon. But the fact is, they haven't beaten a good team yet. Nevada might be the only one that counts. They're 4-3 right now. They haven't lost since that Missouri game. But outside of that, what has Missouri done? They really haven't beaten anyone, even worth getting excited about. And if you look at the other teams in the Big 12 North, yeah, it's not a very impressive group this year. A lot of parity, and not the good kind of parity. But at least everyone else has beaten somebody. Iowa State went into Lincoln and won for the first time in, I think, 32 years. Colorado, at least they beat Kansas. And Kansas State has won 3 conference games, which is 3 more than Missouri has. A much easier schedule so far, but at least they're winning. So and that's something that Missouri can't say about what it's done so far.
Yeah, I think the combined record of Missouri's, the teams they've beaten that are football bowl subdivision teams is 8-14. So
yeah,
I don't know if there are RPIs in football, but theirs wouldn't be very good at this point. I guess I have reverted back to my original preseason. I don't know if I get a mulligan on that 10-win guess after the Illinois game, but I think if they win 7 games, that'll be about kind of a baseline thing. If they win 8, that would be a decent year, I think, now. That would put them 4-4 in the Big 12, which is probably about the best you could possibly hope for. Kind of the issue that has swallowed this team whole this year is Blaine Gabbert's mystery ankle. To hear them talk about it after the games and at press conferences, nothing to see here, move along, and then he'll come out and he's wearing casts and braces, and you see him in games and he's clearly not himself,
right?
The same guy we saw early in the year. What's your take on his level of health and whether this is just going to be something that, the 12th game of the year, we're still going to be talking about this?
Sure. Well, I think the severity of the injury and how they're treating it kind of changes depending on who you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And Blaine Gabbert is stuck to the script that it's not impacting him, that it's not an excuse, which is nonsense. And I think we know that, but he has to say what he's being told to say. And David Yost, offensive coordinator, yesterday pretty much admitted that that's the approach they want him to take, put up a good front about it, and just basically say that it's not bothering him. We know that's not true. Yost was pretty revealing yesterday, talked about how they're going into this week. Today is Tuesday when we're filming this. They practice here in about 2 hours. If he can't practice Tuesday or Wednesday, they think he should be able to, but if he can't, then he can't play. That's Pinkel's policy. They expect him to be able to play. They've got him in a cast, a thing that they usually put a player with this kind of injury in for 48 to 72 hours. Pinkel on his radio show last night mentioned Colin Brown, former offensive tackle. He had a very similar injury a few years ago, might have even been last year, and they put him in a cast like this, took it off after a couple days, and he was much better. I think that's what they're really hoping for with Gabbert, but I think from what we've seen in the last 3 games, we know he's going to be pretty gimpy out there. The bottom line is, and Missouri doesn't even have to say this because actions speak louder than words, they believe even him not at 100% gives them the best chance to win, and that's what they're going to stick with as long as this doesn't get worse.
Mm-hmm. What things can they do assuming he is sort of basically a statue back there, which he is, what are some of the things they can do to make life easier on him, to make the offense be able to work with a guy who's completely immobile?
Yeah, well, you kind of have to take him out of the running game because he's just not a factor there. I think there was one play the other night against Texas where he tried running the ball in a zone read and it didn't go anywhere. So what we've seen them do is they've gone with the two-back formations more often. Now, they've used these before. They used them against Illinois in pretty much every game since then, but saw it more often against Texas, and it was really effective. It at least gives you the element of a little bit of deception. The defense doesn't know which back is going to get the ball when both of them are flanking Gabbert in the backfield, whether it's Moore in Washington or Moore and Lawrence or Lawrence in Washington. I think that gives them a nice little element there, and it worked against a really good run defense when they were able to pick up some yards there. So I think that's something that they'll maybe look at and lean on a little bit more as the season goes on. I think an improved running attack will probably be the best ally for Gabbert here, one that doesn't require him to do any of the running, just handing the ball off. And then they just need to block better for him. And they won't see a defensive front as good as they saw last week against Texas, but they still have to block for him, maybe even pull a tight end in and block a little bit more often or with more guys up front than they are right now. And that's the best thing you can do for them.
Yeah, I think you almost have to get away from doing the empty backfield stuff. I know they kind of like it in the best case scenario, but that's eliminating the suspense from the defense's mind about what's going on, and then they can just kind of tee off on him. They know it's a pass play. So that would be a big thing. And like you said, I think with two running backs, then they can also use those guys in the pass protection phase of it, which would be good.
Right.
The North race. This is something that I don't know why we bothered to continue talking about it, because we clearly have no real grip on it. But now you've got Kansas State at 3-1. Who I guess you now have to call the favorite. If they win one more game, they probably have won enough to win it. I don't know. Is Missouri still in the conversation at 0-3?
I think they have to be. Even if they lose at Colorado, they still have a chance to finish 4-4. This looks like it's going to be a repeat of 2004 when 4-4 won the division. Colorado and Iowa State tied. Iowa State would have been 5-3, but lost to a pretty bad Missouri team on the last play of the game up in Ames. But it looks like it could be another year like that where it doesn't take much to win it. And all six teams, I think, have a shot still. But Missouri, even if they lose at Colorado, I think mathematically they're still alive, but they really have no shot after that because they'll have no margin for error at all. They're not only going to have to win every game after that, but they're going to need some help. And if you can't beat Colorado, who right now is the worst team in the North from what they've done the entire season, then you're in a lot of trouble. So I think this week for Missouri is either going to be the road back to maybe getting back into this thing, or it's going to be rock bottom.
Mm-hmm. If you do win it, then you got Baylor coming up. Sure. You've got a chance to get back on track. And it's a game that almost people probably don't think this way, but it's almost like if you can't beat Colorado, then why are we continuing to talk about winning a division? You don't want to win it anyway.
Right.
So tomorrow, if you tune in tomorrow, we will talk a little more about that Colorado game. Look forward to a place where Missouri had a lot of luck the last time.
Sure did.
We'll talk about that a little bit more.